Hi, and thank you for visiting my channel. For more information, kindly subscribe and follow. Now let's get started.
WWE Hall of Famer Paul Heyman is widely regarded as one of the greatest minds in pro wrestling history. However, wrestling veteran Vince Russo is not a huge fan of the Wiseman, as he believes that the latter is one-dimensional and often overacts. Heyman was present on SmackDown this week, where he delivered a promo. However, the Hall of Famer did not say much during the segment and mainly promoted WWE 2K25 before noting that Roman Reigns would be on the blue brand next week. Speaking about the promo on Sportskeeda Wrestling's Bro Down, Vince Russo stated that he doesn't like Heyman much and that the latter has been cutting the same promo for the last 10 years. "I don't like Paul Heyman. It's very hard for me to be objective when it comes to Paul. I think the dude has been cutting the same freaking exact promo for the last decade, man. It's so one-dimensional, it's always the same thing. I think he freaking overacts. I am not a big Paul Heyman fan like everybody else. I am sorry, that's my opinion." From 45:18 to 45:50. Heyman has been caught in the middle of the brewing feud between CM Punk and Roman Reigns. He was seen interacting with Punk on WWE Raw, which led to the OTC unleashing an attack on the best in the world. The wrestling world is known for its larger-than-life personalities, where emotions often run high, and tensions bubble under the surface, especially among the veterans who have witnessed the industry's evolution. In a recent interview, WWE veteran Brad the Hammer Hunter, a well-respected figure who's made a name for himself both inside and outside the ring, didn't mince words when it came to his opinion on Paul Heyman, one of the most influential figures in the wrestling business. Hunter, who has seen it all over the course of his storied career, took issue with the way Heyman carries himself both on screen and behind the scenes. The comment came during an appearance on a popular wrestling podcast, where Hunter was asked about his take on the current WWE product and the personalities that shape it. The veteran, known for his straight shooting and no-nonsense attitude, was asked what he thought about Heyman's role as a manager, promoter, and figurehead in the company. Hunter's response was blunt: "I think he overacts. I get that he's a master of words, but sometimes it feels like he's trying too hard. There's a fine line between being a compelling character and being someone who's just trying to put on a performance." The tension behind the words. For those in the know, the animosity between some veteran wrestlers and Paul Heyman is not new. Heyman's reputation precedes him. The former ECW owner and one of the best talkers in wrestling history is beloved by many for his unparalleled ability to manipulate an audience. His legendary promos have helped elevate several WWE superstars, from Brock Lesnar to Roman Reigns. However, not everyone shares the same admiration for his style. Hunter's comments reflect a long-standing divide in the wrestling community. Many wrestlers, particularly those from an older generation, have critiqued the modern emphasis on promo skills over in-ring action. For these veterans, the essence of professional wrestling lies in the physical storytelling, with promos and character work being secondary. To them, Heyman's bombastic promos often feel excessive, overshadowing the action that should speak for itself. In a follow-up to the interview, Hunter explained that his issue with Heyman wasn't necessarily about the manager's abilities but his approach. "It's one thing to be a great talker," Hunter said. "But sometimes it feels like he's not playing the character he's supposed to. He's playing Paul Heyman playing the character." It's an intriguing point, as it underscores the fine balance between being authentic and portraying a character convincingly. Heyman has often been accused of stepping outside of his role, injecting too much of his own persona into his on-screen work, which can alienate some fans and wrestlers alike. Heyman's influence on WWE. Paul Heyman's influence on WWE cannot be overstated. As a manager, he has been a key figure in the careers of some of the biggest stars in wrestling history, including Brock Lesnar, CM Punk, and Roman Reigns. His ability to elevate and build superstars is legendary, with his storytelling and ability to manipulate a crowd turning simple feuds into epic storylines. But Hunter's criticism reflects a different perspective. He suggests that Heyman's influence might sometimes be to the detriment of the wrestler. Take the case of Roman Reigns, for instance. Reigns' rise as the tribal chief has been, in large part, due to Heyman's influence. The two have formed a dynamic pairing that has propelled Reigns to the top of WWE, and Heyman's constant needling has only added layers to Reigns' character. Yet, from Hunter's perspective, this reliance on Heyman has hurt Reigns' development. Reigns doesn't need Heyman anymore, Hunter insisted. He's talented enough on his own. At some point, you have to cut the strings and let the guy sink or swim. To Hunter, Heyman's role in Reigns' storyline could be viewed as limiting, tying the wrestler to the veteran's signature promo style, which could stifle Reigns' ability to shine on his own. The age gap. Hunter's critique is also an illustration of the generational gap within WWE. As someone who honed his craft in the era before Heyman's rise to prominence, Hunter views the modern focus on mic work and storytelling through a different lens. To him, the emphasis on flashy promos and character-driven segments often detracts from the physical artistry of professional wrestling. The days of raw, unfiltered wrestling action, when the competitors in the ring were the focal point, seem to be fading in favor of what Hunter sees as over-the-top character work. Heyman's role in modern WWE is one that continues to evolve, especially with the rise of superstars who rely heavily on their characters and storylines to build their personas. It's a trend that has taken over much of WWE's programming. While this approach has earned Heyman the nickname The Advocate, Hunter contends that Heyman's unique style may have worked better in a different era, one where the business wasn't as heavily centered on entertainment and spectacle. The nature of professional wrestling. The ultimate issue, as Hunter sees it, is the nature of professional wrestling itself. He argues that at its core, wrestling should be about athleticism and in-ring performance. The storylines, while integral to a match, shouldn't overshadow the action. I don't care how good your promo is. If you can't back it up in the ring, what's the point? Hunter remarked. While Heyman's ability to sell matches and build characters is undeniable, it's not lost on Hunter that wrestling fans from the pre-Attitude Era, when Hunter first began his career, appreciate a different form of storytelling. A generation that grew up on Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, and Steve Austin finds itself at odds with the modern emphasis on drama and character development, as opposed to the simple yet compelling drama that unfolds in the ring. The impact of the critique. Hunter's comments were, naturally, met with mixed reactions. On one hand, longtime wrestling fans and veterans of the business applauded him for speaking his mind, believing that wrestling has lost some of its soul in favor of entertainment value. On the other hand, fans of Heyman defended him, acknowledging his brilliance as a manager and promoter. For many, Heyman's ability to add depth and emotion to storylines is one of the key reasons why WWE has continued to thrive in an ever-changing industry. Regardless of where one stands on the issue, Hunter's statement brings an important conversation to the forefront. Is WWE's current formula for success reliant too heavily on promos and characters, or is there still room for the athleticism and pure wrestling skill that defined the business for decades? As WWE continues to evolve, one thing is certain: Paul Heyman's impact on the business, love him or hate him, is undeniable. The wrestling world may be divided on his methods, but Heyman's place in WWE history is cemented, whether critics like Brad Hunter acknowledge it or not. Paul Heyman makes a highly controversial name drop on SmackDown. Paul Heyman made a name drop on SmackDown that left fans on social media stunned. During his promo to promote Roman Reigns' appearance next week, he used a name that nobody expected. While a large chunk of the promo that Paul Heyman cut on SmackDown was somewhat unimportant as it revolved around hyping Roman Reigns a bit and stating it was Roman Reigns' Day, he also took a shot at Seth Rollins and mentioned CM Punk as the three superstars look to be on a collision course on the road to WrestleMania 41. When stating that Roman Reigns will be in Bologna, Italy, next week for SmackDown, Paul Heyman told the crowd that all they had to do was buy a plane ticket and fly over to Italy. In a shocking moment, he also said, "It's not like Mussolini is at the border stopping you from getting in." In case you're unaware, this was a reference to the fascist Italian dictator during World War II, Benito Mussolini. While it was a moment that might spark some controversy, it's also highly likely that it was a reference to CM Punk's theme song Cult of Personality, which features a line saying, "like Mussolini, and Kennedy." This could possibly be a tease for a Roman Reigns-CM Punk confrontation on SmackDown next week. If we see another Reigns-Punk confrontation, the roof of the arena is likely going to blow off. The arena buzzed with anticipation. The bright lights of the WWE SmackDown ring gleamed under the shining lights, casting shadows on the menacing figures who were about to enter. Fans filled the stands, chanting and waving signs as they awaited the arrival of one of WWE's most polarizing figures, Paul Heyman. When Heyman's music hit, the atmosphere shifted. The crowd's reaction was immediate, a mixture of boos and cheers, but the one constant was the undeniable presence that accompanied the sound of his entrance. Dressed in his usual sharp suit, a smirk played on Heyman's face as he made his way to the ring. This was not just another night for Paul Heyman, this was the night he planned to stir the pot, to make a statement that would echo throughout WWE history. As Heyman grabbed the microphone and stood in the center of the ring, the lights dimmed, and the tension in the air thickened. The crowd's cheers quickly turned to boos as they knew something was coming, something big, something that would undoubtedly shake up the very foundation of WWE. "Allow me to introduce myself," Heyman began, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "I am the advocate for the tribal chief, the head of the table, the undisputed leader of WWE, Roman Reigns." The mention of Reigns' name drew the expected response, a mix of boos and cheers. Heyman reveled in the chaos, knowing full well that when it came to Roman Reigns, he had the power to command the audience's attention. But tonight, he continued, his tone suddenly shifting to something darker, more calculated, "I stand before you not just as the voice of Roman Reigns, but as a man who understands the true nature of power in WWE. And let me tell you this, power isn't just something that is earned, it's something that is inherited." The crowd hushed. They had heard Heyman speak many times before, but tonight was different. There was a tension in the air, a sense that Heyman wasn't just trying to get under the skin of the audience for the sake of entertainment. No, this was personal. "You see," Heyman went on, pacing slowly in the ring, "there are some individuals in this company who believe that they can simply step up, throw their weight around, and demand respect. But what they don't understand is that respect, true respect, isn't given. It's taken." The tension in the arena thickened, the fans now on edge, unsure of what was coming next. And then it happened. Heyman's smirk widened, and with a glint of mischief in his eyes, he said, "And there is one individual who believes that they can return to WWE and just waltz into the spotlight. One individual who thinks that his legacy, his past, will simply erase the mistakes of his current self. That man is John Cena." The crowd exploded in shock. A wave of boos drowned out the gasps of surprise as Heyman's words hung in the air. The name John Cena echoed throughout the arena like a gunshot, and for the first time in years, Cena's name was being invoked in the same sentence as the words mistakes and legacy in a way that was both harsh and accusatory. Heyman didn't pause for the reaction. He knew what he had just unleashed, and he leaned into the moment. "Yes, ladies and gentlemen, John Cena. The same John Cena who has been parading around Hollywood, acting like he's too big for this business. The same John Cena who was once revered as the face of WWE, yet has now become a shadow of his former self, coming back whenever it suits him, whenever the spotlight calls. But let me remind you all of something, John Cena never earned his spot. It was handed to him. And when it was handed to him, it was at the expense of men who deserved it more." The arena was split. Fans who still held Cena in high regard were furious, shouting insults toward Heyman, while others, especially those who had grown tired of Cena's sporadic returns, cheered Heyman's words, reveling in the audacity of his statement. "You want to talk about legacies?" Heyman continued, his voice now growing colder, more calculated. "Well, let's talk about real legacies. Let's talk about Roman Reigns, the man who has dominated this company for nearly 3 years straight, the man who has proven time and time again that he is the true leader of WWE. Not a part-time star who only comes back when it's convenient. No, Roman Reigns doesn't need Hollywood. Roman Reigns is the only thing this company needs. He's the only reason this company still matters. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the truth that John Cena doesn't want to hear." The crowd was divided, some jeered, others cheered, but one thing was certain, Heyman had struck a nerve. His words had hit their mark, and the fallout would be felt for weeks, if not months, to come. As for Cena's little legacy, Heyman continued, his voice dripping with disdain, "Let's be honest, he's an afterthought. He's no longer the face of this company. That honor belongs to Roman Reigns. The reality is, Cena is nothing more than a part-time attraction. And if you want to know the real reason he's even contemplating a return, it's because he knows that his time in the sun has passed. He's afraid. He's afraid of being forgotten, of being replaced. And if that happens, then who will he be? Not a legend. Not a champion. Just a man chasing a memory." The boos were deafening now. Heyman could feel the energy shift, the collective animosity of the crowd rising in his direction. But it didn't matter to him. He thrived on chaos. He fed on it. And he knew that what he had just done would lead to something far greater than simple shock value. "What Cena fails to realize," Heyman added, "is that we, Roman Reigns and I, have already moved on. And in the process, we've left him in the dust. So let's make this clear, if John Cena thinks he can just waltz back into WWE and demand anything, he's sorely mistaken. The only thing he'll be walking into is a world where Roman Reigns is the alpha, and there's no room for anyone else." With that, Heyman dropped the microphone, a smirk still playing on his face as he made his way up the ramp. The arena was still buzzing with anger and disbelief as the implications of his words began to settle in. Fans knew that the tension between Cena and Reigns was far from over, but now, with Paul Heyman's controversial name drop, it seemed inevitable that a new, deeper layer of animosity had been added to the rivalry. The fallout would be felt not just on SmackDown but across WWE, as Heyman's words ignited a firestorm that would change the course of the next few months. Whether it was the beginning of an all-out war between Roman Reigns and John Cena or just the opening salvo in a larger battle, one thing was clear: Paul Heyman had once again played the game better than anyone else.